JFF and the Think Fest, because I think it's so important for festival people to get together. They don't get much chance to do this and to talk to each other. I just wanted to start with, in this digital world, the volume of films, and it's gone up. We all know, there's more films than ever being submitted to places. Even I'm a scout for San Sebastian, so I get, a couple of dozen links that sort of build up on me during a couple of weeks of the year, and that's nothing compared to the thousands of links that you'll all have. How do you deal with the volume of films being submitted? Is it causing a problem? Yeah, just the volume. How do you, anybody want to start with that?
Yes, the volume is growing, but not so much. For Critics Week, we select 7 films in competition, and at the end there is 10, 11 film, long feature or documentary film in our section. And it's about registered film, 850. And we'll see also films in film festival, for example in Sundance, in Morelia, work in progress. And also there is also members of the committee who goes in Busan, in Canada, and they see 60 film, 50 in Italy. So that's the same, but just for the short film, it's high.
Short films are
short
going
film,
up.
yeah. Because short film, before it was 1,000, now it's 1,800 short film. And the short film are not so short, it's about 20, 25, 30 film, 35 minutes. So for short film, you can feel that it's higher, and there are more and more longer. Yes.
And you're showing first and second features?
Yes, yes, only, yes. And what's the link is another problem, but maybe
we'll come back to the link. But I'm surprised you only get 850 submissions. Is that because it's first and second features only, or?
Yes, on world premiere.
Oh, okay, world premiere.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that is different, about 110 different countries, those films. That is different from Brazil, where it's maybe 15, 25. Argentina the same. But there is country just 2, 3 films, 6, depends. From France it's a lot, maybe 80. Italy.
80, yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
And Germany also a lot. And Italy, so we have a panel of production for first, second feature all around the world, which is very interesting.
Okay. And Ilda, how many submissions or how many films are you able to watch?
We select about between 200 and 250 films on the international side. We also select another, say, 50 Brazilian films, which is a separate sidebar. But on the international side, yeah, the number of, I think it's not only the number of links and submissions, but it has become so much easier for people to contact anyone, that you're just submerged in so much,
communication.
It's a lot of communication. At some point, I almost have to decide whether I actually respond to people, or if I actually see the films. And I think this is a big challenge. Of course, I do have a small team that actually goes through the films before they get to me, but still, I think that it makes it easier to make mistakes, to miss something, because of course you're seeing a lot of things that normally would not get to you. I mean, sending a link is so easy. Before, there was so many different steps that would make it just a little bit more complicated. I'm not complaining. I think it's actually great to have it so easily available for us to see the films. But then again, the competition as well, I think that, all these films, they do want to find a slot in a festival. And I think that there's, of course, a big difference between, say, Charles, who looks at films, world premieres, what I'm saying is that you have, of course, as we all know, 5, 6 festivals that they actually, in some way, they guide, or they pave a bit of what we're also going to see, which is, again, another challenge, that you want, of course, the audience and the press and the sponsors, they want to see the big films that were big hits in all the big festivals, in the most important festivals in the world. But so it makes it even more challenging to be able to show those films, but as well to keep some kind of originality to what you're doing. So that you really can print some kind of idea on the programming. You cannot avoid the big films. You cannot avoid the films that everyone wants to see. But you also have to make an extra effort to really find your view and then offer your audience something that you know that you will connect, that maybe those films did not make it to the big festivals or to other festivals, but they do make sense to your audience and to your festival.
Great, thank you. I want to come back to some of that in a bit.
Hi, thank you for being here. In Buenos Aires Independent Film Festival, we received a lot of films. We program between 300 and 400 films. And a couple of years ago, we were thinking, oh, too many films. Let's put an entry fee to pay. But the festival is government funded, so they told us, no, we cannot do that. Okay, so we decided last year to have a short period of submission. It was shorter. And, let's put it in December, November. And that was good because after the deadline, they keep coming to you. So yeah. So we do not have to watch the films that were not officially submitted. Yeah. So that was good, and the good things are right. But then again, there are always exceptions. I met the very good animation filmmaker a couple of months ago. Oh, how are you doing? Oh, I finished the short, but it was too late. Come on, you're kidding me. It was a guy very well known in Argentinian industry. It was the only guy that never wrote. But what? There are too many films for. You know, there is this side of this dark side. Everybody contacts you by Facebook. Oh, I have this film. So you are there on the web, but also the information about the films is there. Yeah. So you check. Oh, this film is 2 years old. Come on. So you end up watching a lot of films, but it is coming to a balance, I think.
And do you hire extra people to hire extra screening committee people to deal just with the sheer numbers?
I mean, yeah. I do. We do in Rio. I mean, but I already have a team that I trust, and I mean, trusting means I know what they like. So even if I have someone at the team that says, "Oh, I love this film," I said, "Well, I may not like it." It doesn't matter. This is part of the challenge. You have to have people that really will confront you and really fight for a film that you may be. Like if I'm seeing 5-6 films a day, of course, by the last film you feel like, well, I don't like this, but maybe you're making a mistake. So I think it's really good to have people that push you, and they can be really pushy when they like a film. Oh, you're not seeing the importance of this film. I said, okay, I'll see it again. But this is actually this is the amazing part of the work, which is to have someone maybe tell you something that you have not seen, or you having to tell your team why you do not want that film at all. But for example, for us, we have to really, I have a very keen thing on Latin American film. So of course we'll try not to miss the Latin American films. So we tend to be more attentive. It's not that we're not attentive to the others, but of course this is something that you build. So, and of course, once you start to have the network, you have the producers, you have your colleague programmers, which is actually very nice. When I want to do something, if it's a country that I have no entry from that country, I will, ask a colleague programmer, and say, hey, what can you recommend me? If I have not seen anything from Poland or from Hungary, I would just ask, which I think it's also something that helps a lot.
And who are you at? You asking the Polish Film Institute? Are you asking Polish critics? Or are you asking?
No, I ask Stefan. I always ask a programmer. Yeah. Lodin. What I always do.
Who runs the Warsaw Film Festival? Yeah.
So the thing is, it's always nicer when you talk to a colleague because, I mean, he or she, they'll just tell you what they like, and and you may, of course, say, so well, maybe this is this is good for my country, but not good for a country that's, you know, far away. I prefer to that, unless I'm doing a focus, and then I really go to the institutes already send like 100 links of everything, and you say, oh my God, I don't have the time. I don't even have the team to see 100 links from
one country.
any country.
Yeah.
You know?
And what you were going to mention the links before? Like, do you like programming off links? Do you?
I think it makes things, it's so much more ecological than
Yes.
having like a pile of DVDs and then having to deal with, you know, the mail that never delivers. So yeah, for that I am very happy. And then I think that what makes it different is that sometimes people can be so careful about the damn links that I say, well, then don't send the link. If everything is so, I can only see my computer, I cannot put on Apple TV, so I have to see it so small. Don't even send me the link, because I don't like seeing films in my, I really don't.
Yeah, nobody wants to watch it on their phone.
No, I don't do it. I don't like
screen.
it. Maybe it's generational, maybe it is, but I don't like it.
And Charles, with Critics Week, I imagine you probably the team will watch some links, but when you get together to sort of make the final selection, are you watching on a big screen? Do you insist on?
We have different way. First with the long feature film and for the short film. For the short film, now we have a basis, all the films are loaded on the basis, so they have to look at the film on their laptop. This is the only way. So I'm not crazy about that, but we can, everybody can see the film on this basis. Everybody put his opinion in few words, so I know what everybody thinks about the film, and it's very well done to follow the opinion and the evolution of each film. So that's important, because the link with Facebook, email, that's crazy, because I don't see those films. I say you have to be registered. For the selection committee for the long feature film and documentary, we have 6 persons with me, 3 men, 2 women, since a few years. And just a small part of the film we see all together. Just maybe 100 and 200 films, all screening all together. Maybe it's mostly French film with French co-producer, or film that we expect, and we know that there is already a sales agent or somebody, so those films are saved. It's useful because when you see a film, all the selection committee, if you like the film, I can call back to say, we like the film all together. But the main part of the film I've seen by DVD, and each member has his area: North America, East Europe, West Europe, Asia, Africa, and so on. So we see by DVD, also by link, but we have to see each other, all the films. Sometimes we have 250 films in 1 week to see, so it's crazy. So we see one all together like that, and we meet every Friday, and everybody has maybe 40 films, and says, among that, this one I don't like it at all. This one I want that the committee see all the film, and so maybe this one I'm not so sure, but I would like that another person see the film. But the time for this means 1 week more. So you know that at that moment in Cannes, in mid of March or April, if you like the film, you have to be quick and fast. So, but it's the only way, because when you are one day screening all the section committee, you can see 7, 9 films. But if you are at home, you can see more films. So that's the only way you can deal, because we will see all the film in a very short time, in 2-3 weeks, mostly. So it's crazy.
Yeah, and so, but at the end, you're watching in a screen all together, all 6 of them. No, you're still watching separately.
A lot of films I don't know, films we have seen, for example, Sauvage, which is here, which is the first film in competition, has been seen in DVD. It was not a screening.
Okay, so you just each watch it.
It depends on the film.
Okay. And what about you, Javier, with all these links? Are you watching them? Are you watching DVDs?
DVDs, it's ancient technology. I started in Bafisi at the time of the VHS. We were like, how many can you get? Oh, my bag is only 12. And it was horrible. And DVD, oh, come on, oh, please don't send us DVDs. Because many people that don't have DVD players. No, we love links, but we watch and we like to watch films separately, because we are a team, but we love each other. But But you know, no. Yeah, but separately, one of my programmers doesn't sleep, so I watch it at night. That's okay. I want to watch films in the morning, but we watch many Argentinian films all together because we screen more than 50 world premieres of Argentinian feature films. So many of them are being finished when we are closing the catalog. So we have to watch the film all together. This edition, the winner of this edition, the Flower, La Flor, which is going to compete in Locarno in a couple of right now. It was a 14-hour film. So we have to watch it all together in 3 screenings, 2 screenings in December and the 3rd in February. And it wasn't finished. I went to the house of the musician, who is a friend of mine, and I was there talking 2 weeks before the festival. And he was writing the music. I'm not gonna be with you again up until the end of the festival because I was dying. But yeah, we watch many Argentinian films together, but we love links and we don't love DVDs.
Okay. Charles already preempted me by saying that there's 3 male programmers and 2 female programmers. I talked about this a little bit at the last panel. I'm just wondering about the gender split of your programming team and how you're thinking about gender equality in your program. Is that something you're striving for or something you think it's just film by film basis? Maybe you can each talk a little bit.
Well, maybe it's by chance or maybe it's by skills, but we do have more women. I have more women in my team, in my programming team. Actually, I have more women in all the coordination areas. I think I have more women working, but yes, I think that we have to take that into account because it's a different quality of viewing, and I think that it's also the connections that you make. Because again, when you're programming, it's not about, of course, it's not about the film I like or I don't like. It's so much more than that. It's, I may put a film that I do not like necessarily, personally speaking, but that, it's important for the programming. Or I'll have, the same way as Charles said, I have people that, of course, I have people specialized in the team. It's natural. Like one person likes the Asian film, the other one likes a lot of independent American. So it's just natural that you think about how you can connect to your audience. So it's not about the film you like or don't like. It's about how you're going to connect to your audience. Of course, it depends a lot on talking about festivals, on what you want to show. For example, La Flor, which is a film I said, okay, if I actually put La Flor, I really have to take out 5 films. That's the truth. I mean, it's the slot. I mean, it's more. It's like 6 or 7 films.
It's 8 or 9.
Yeah, and then I think, well, how much is that going to cost me in subtitling, for example? And these things I have to take into account. So, especially, for example, with Argentina, which is by far the most number of films that we get from Latin America. When I look at Premiere Latina, we have a sidebar called Premiere Latina, which is about 25 films. And if I don't really pay attention, 15 are going to be Argentinian. So I really have to take those things into account. Diversity in terms of female directors, diversity in terms of LGBT representation. I mean, it's again, when you're programming a festival, you're actually making a statement. I always think that I keep thinking about what am I trying to say when I put these films together. Even if I'm not saying it explicitly, there's something that the audience should in some way connect. They should understand the kind of idea that we're trying to put together, depending on how the country is doing politically, how the world is doing politically. These things, I think it in some way it exudes when you make your selection, I think it comes out.
Would you ever have any kind of targets that we need X number of LGBT films, we need X number of films by women? You've not done that.
No, well, not in the number, but of course I really pay attention to that. I think about that very much, and I think that, which is true, when I look, we make mistakes. I mean, I think sometimes I still remember. It's funny because I don't remember the films that I got right, but I still remember the films I made mistakes. Like, I did not select this film. I should have. I was tired. I did not understand. And for example, if I look at the programming I was doing 10 years ago, I think it was so totally different. The things I was taking into account were just different things. I was not really paying attention to the number of female directors I had, how the different, groups were represented in the festival, and now I am very much, and I think I should be, and I think we all should. Okay,
Javier, are you?
Yeah, in our programming team there is only one woman, but people, no, men. No, people, we are 5 programmers and only one woman. And in the Bafisi history, was the maximum number of women in the programming team was 2. But they left. And it's a festival that the programming team is usually comes from the critic world. And the critic world in all the world and in Argentina dominated by men.
Yeah.
That's that.
But
yeah, but in 20 years of Bafisi, I've been working there for 18 years, and we never thought about much about women films directed by women. And last year, yes, we were thinking, and this last edition had I think very few films directed by women. But
even you were thinking about it. Yeah.
That's because we were thinking about it. Because in our previous history, we had a lot of films directed by women. This year, at the beginning of this year, we made a database about films directed by women in Bafisi's history, and we had the most films directed by women than any other festival. More than Cannes, more than Venice, more than Locarno, more than Mar del Plata, and yeah, especially Mar del Plata, yeah. And also this year.
It's me with São Paulo.
Yeah, come on, it's killed. No, but and we have many films directed by women awarded at Bafisi. This is interesting because Indian film won the main competition. Well, only that's too much. But one of them was directed by a woman, one of them by a man, and one of them directed by a couple, man and woman. And last year happened a strange situation with the jury. I was there and somebody we are here at the deliberation of the international jury, and they don't want to give best actor and best actress. They want to give best individual performance and best ensemble. I said, okay, whatever they want. I didn't check, and they ended up with a best individual performance was an actress, and best ensemble a female soccer team. So all of the
Argentinian movie.
Yeah.
I saw it. I liked it very much.
Yeah. Directed by a woman.
Yes.
And so all the performance awards last year were given to women. Imagine that the jury said best individual a guy, and then a male soccer team. They would have killed me. But I didn't care because it was the jury's decision. And this year the best male performer was a guy, and the best actress were 4 actresses by La Flor. So between last year and this year we have 17 performance awards, 16 because the soccer team 4 actors this year, and the individual 16 given to women. But we don't care. But we have these numbers.
But you mentioned at the start that you were thinking about it. with the program, especially it's it's hard not to think about now. But yet there were not as many films directed by women. Is that because those films just made by women were not submitted to you?
No.
Why did that happen?
No. Argentina has a very large number of women directors, but it's impressive and very good. Not every year every filmmaker, but this year we had fewer films directed by women in the Argentinian competition, but the winner was a woman. The best film was directed by a woman. The best director was a woman, and last year we had more films directed by women, but it went to a man, I think. I don't remember. Because I think it's good not to be so aware of that. If you really do your job, it's going to be. And I think, talking seriously, independent film festivals had it easier, because in Cannes you have films of a certain level, so especially in main competition. Venice, this controversy about it. They have big festivals about big names in directing, and there are not so many women in that level of exposure. But independent film is where the thing is happening. It will be very different in 20 years from now, and you can see it in Rotterdam, in Bafisi, in Rio. It's easier.
Charles, for you, how many women directors were in this selection this year?
This year it was a rather unique year, because in the competition among the 7 films there were 4 women directors.
Hey, yes, thank you.
One from Switzerland, one from Poland, one from Hungary, and one from India, Juana Guerra. So, and also as a woman Indian director, Nandita Das, the actress, was also in Cannes, in South Africa. But I think it's the first time. Usually, mostly, it was French woman director we have in Felix Week. Léa Missius, Ava last year, 2 years ago, Julia Ducournau, Rowe, Alice Vinocourt, Rebecca Jotowski, Sandrine Bonner, so. But what is good this year, that I can feel that in other countries, among the first film, there is more women directors. Not mean more in quantity, but in quality, in originality. So I can feel that strongly. I'm also president of from CNC, Institut Français, from Cinéma du Monde. We have first college and second college. First college is also first and second project. We have a lot of women, about 60 films, maybe there are 18 women directors, but at the second college it's very poor, just 3 or 4. So I think that it's growing and it's coming. Yes, I think so.
No, it's good to hear. Yeah.
And what it's important, we do a shortlist. We have, for example, 20, 30 films the shortlist, and that while we were discussing, there was many women directors, but we didn't think about it. It's just at the end we saw it because we like the film, what they can bring, an artistic point of view and a social point of view too. So, but it's interesting to see that, and also the short film. There are a lot of women directors.
Again, it's what I'm going to say. It's really difficult because that's what happens. I mean, when you're selecting films, you're really going by quality, by the importance of films, and of course this should be on the highest level of our decision. But I don't think I would select a film that I hate or that I think it's really not on a basic level because it's a woman or not. For example, talking about Brazil, we have this whole discussion, which is the discussion we should have, about how underrepresented the black community, the blacks are represented in culture. I mean, this is easy, come on. We look at the World Cup. I mean, I really felt, I feel, ashamed. You look, the players are all black, and then you look at the damn audience there, and you don't have not even one black there. So everyone that had the money to go there, they're all white, but they are being entertained by, actually what is the biggest representation of Brazil. We are 90% of Brazilians have, to some extent, a black blood, a black descendants in some way. So But it's tough.
Are these films being funded and made? No.
I mean, there's a huge discussion about how, these films, it takes a while. It doesn't come naturally. I don't think I had, like last year, I don't think I had not even one film by a black female or male director at all. We have very few. So this is something that has to be developed. Of course, again, like I was talking about Argentina, I may not select an Argentinian film and select a Dominican Republican film, even if I feel it's a bit, less good. I mean, I don't, or because I have to have diversity. I remember a few years ago talking about the LGBT community. It's much more difficult. It was much more difficult to find lesbian films. So it was a challenge. Again, I would not choose a film just because it's lesbian or because it's black, but this has to be taken into account. And I think with time and the more we think about it, I think as Javier was saying, it's going to come. In 10 years' time, it's going to be totally different. I think that everyone's going to be much more represented because everyone is taking that into account from the development, departing point, I think.
I agree with you in the part that it will happen. In 10 years, but it will happen anyway. Anyways, because if I start to think about leaving this Argentinian film out because of this Dominican Republic, improbable Dominican Republic.
I should not have given an example.
No. Also from Chile or even from France that they defeat us in the World Cup. No, it's no problem.
Over us.
I will try to put the best films.
Yes.
This year, the two Argentinian entries in the official competition in Bafisi. There were two world premieres. It doesn't happen in Mar del Plata. We have world premieres, but that's they are class A. We are not, so strange. But now we have two Argentinian films in the competition. Both were performed by actresses. The protagonists were 4 actresses in one and 4 actresses in the other. Yeah, I could get complaints by Argentinian male actors, but I don't care. If you have to think about put a balance between this and that, I'm not programming. I am doing I don't know. I am being a politician. I am to a politician. Yeah, I prefer to think about good films, and I don't care if I have 3 Canadian films. I don't care. I had 3 Canadian films in the competition and not a single African film. This year we didn't have a single African film in the competition.
And how many Brazilians?
Brazilians, I don't 3, 2 or 3. Yeah, too many. No. But and not even one film from Chile, a co-production between Argentina and 2 Brazilian films. Yeah.
And how much, and try to deliver that to them, and then how much can you try to push them to watch films they wouldn't otherwise watch, or new horizons, how do you balance, you've got to sell some tickets to keep the festival going, but you also want to push cinephilia, I guess. How do you balance that?
That's where the game is, because again, you have to give them also what they want. It's also a game, of course, as a festival gains the trust of the audience. Of course, they are more daring to go see films that maybe they would not dare, or they're more adventurous because they trust what you're choosing, and that's good. And I think that, I've done that so many times. We're programming 250, 300 films, and I even try to make these things about the screening, the theaters. Like, that if you put an Almodovar in one theater, it's gonna be packed and you're gonna have an overflow. And you have to think what you're gonna be programming right next to that, so that you actually push and pull your audience but you don't really throw them at a place where they're gonna, hate what they see. And that's really where the game is good. That's where you feel that, my God, I can really do something that's, of course you don't get it right all the time, but that's what you have to do. You have to push them, and then the more you push and pull, the next year you're gonna have them for even, more daring stuff, I think.
And Charles, with Cannes Critics Week is a different animal. Cannes is a different festival than any other festival in the world. But your section is, more new voices in cinema. How much do you feel like you can push somebody very new, very out there, or do you try to balance? Do you think about what critics will like when you're programming?
No, this is the key point. When you are film critic, the first thing is you don't have to select film to show to the other film critic that you're the best guy, I'm the clever guy. So this is the first point.
Yeah.
And then as film critic, because I was editor in Cahiers du Cinema and so on, so you have to learn the difference between to be film critic and to program film. So this is a step. Maybe I have 1 to 3 years to understand clearly what that means. Your point of view, your sensibility in an artistic point of view is very important. But how you compose a program of 7 films, how it tells what the line of has to be the new cinema, in which direction you want to give that. When you have to select 7 films, it's not only the territory, it's that it may be the key point. And what we try to do is that we have 7 films in competition, and in each day you see a different proposition of cinema, but when you see the 7 films, you can understand that there is a link altogether, even if they are very different. So there are some kind of very artistic, ambitious film, and maybe the audience is not important at the beginning, but the critic will help on film festival too. The other one are very generous. For example, Guggenheim, who was very generous, and it has been sold. So it's important to have different way to deal with cinema and the different position. And so we try to do this, but to compose. The difficulty is to invite the first film or the second film, because when you have 7, if you want, this is about teenage coming out of, just one is enough. So even if you have other good, you can take them. So you have to build like a house with 7 films, and when you have 7, it's very difficult because you don't have to. I don't want to repeat the same idea of the cinema with 7 films. That's the last thing to do. We used to say that sometimes you can feel the sensibility of the director, but sometimes when I see film festival as a jury, I see always the same problem in a different way, because so maybe it's a pity because when you are also a jury, it's very useful to be jury because you can understand the place of the audience. 7 films very dark. At the end, you want to kill yourself. So you have to think what you can support also, and you have to be also in the other side when you select the film. This is the most difficult. Just one thing about LGBT and what we talked about before, and what women also. I noticed a strong difference because before the film about homosexuality and those problems, it was a very social concern that in Venezuela it started with repression, but it's okay, we can say it's important for this country to speak about that, but for us in a world point of view, not. What I can feel, and I talked with Sylvie Cala, French producer, who was president for the Queer Palm this year, that there is more inventive, crazy, artistic quality in those films. For example, in Girl from the Cadon, who is here, and also Diamantino and Yann Gonzalez, those films. So they are very free, they invent way of dealing with story filming. So there are very strong originality in those films. It's no more a niche exhibited. It's a very new way of dealing with cinema actually, and this is very important.
That's great. No, I never envy the very tight program of 7 or 10 films. I just think it takes an extra special layer of decision making and skill to have them work together.
Yeah, because sometimes this year we don't have Latino American movie. Last year we have 3.
Yeah.
Marcela Said, Felipe Barbosa. It depends on the year, but it depends what you can feel and understand.
And Javier, with you thinking about your audience, and also particularly, how do you make sure a young audience is coming in? to a festival? Because we know lots of older people go to festivals because they have money and time. How do you make sure young audiences are coming too?
We force them. No, when I've been a programmer, I'm the director of the festival, but I've been doing the schedule of the theaters for almost all my life, I think. I deal with numbers, and 20 years ago when when Bafisi started, you program whatever, and it was packed. Nobody cares what they were going to watch. They were happy. Films that weren't able, you couldn't watch after the festival. They were missed. Now you can watch films all year round in VOD platforms, and you have to sell films differently to different audiences. And young audiences are strange because the young audience of the festival is becoming more and more cinephile, because young audiences of 20 years ago or 10 years ago were more diverse. Now they are cinephiles, and so you program, I don't know, Suspiria by Dario Argento, and it's full of young people, and it's an old film, So it's strange. You have to have different strategies. We have John Waters this year as a special guest. Many young people. John Waters is almost retired from filmmaking. So we have the young audiences, but they behave in strange ways. So you have to pay attention because they are not the same young audience that we were 20 years ago.
I think it's really, for us, it's genre, it's horror films and music. I think that about 10 years ago, we realized that our audience was really getting older. So, and I think it came a bit at the same time when the whole digital, turmoil revolution started to be more present, which makes it really more challenging. Because you have to be present digitally present as a communication, and you have to be able to really get these people, force them to go to the movies. But I think I agree with Javier. I think that there is one layer of young people. They are more cinephiles than ever. But in some way, I'm very interested in feeding them, in giving them something, but I'm really more interested in seducing everyone else, all the others. And I think I think we start to have midnight horror films and midnight music films, which actually became much more common as well all over the world. You have a lot of documentaries on music. You have, and this really brought a new audience to the festival, which also goes to see other films.
Right.
Yeah.
They're not just seeing the first
Yeah,
thing.
I mean, after the first year, they say, well, you know what, there are other things here to see as well. Of course, they always like to, they like the strange things, they like, the funny things. They'll always go to see John Waters because this is what it is. But but it's always, if you show them anything that's kind of, kinky. Do we still use that word? This is also an old word, kinky. Yeah, I don't know what's
a good word.
Trendy. Yeah.
You're talking about cinephilia amongst young people, which is great to hear that's happening on the ground. But where do you all think, a lot of festivals, including that bastion of cinephilia, Cannes, have started showing TV, episodic series as part of, not in your section, Charles, but in the main sections. Toronto's got a TV section. A lot of festivals are doing that. A lot of festivals are showing VR work. Where do you all think that's dangerous? Do you think it's a good thing to encourage all forms of the moving image to come together at film festivals? Are we going to lose the word film festivals and it's just going to be image festivals? What do you think? Do you show any TV?
We did VR for the first time. That was really a Freudian slip for the last time, not for the first time last year. And I mean, personally, I'm not interested, so I did have to count on, you know, someone outside. I really, you know, asked a programmer, someone who knows a lot about VR or knows the content that's being produced to do that. No, I don't think that we're going to lose the audience to those other medias. I think the audience will grow. I think that the audience is going to be more diverse and more open to different possibilities. I'm not into VR, again, because it's a generational thing. I get no kick out of looking at this thing. I get dizzy, I get, it really doesn't touch me. But then again, I also feel that even myself this is a funny thing. This is very strange, I have to say this. I just, you know, walked out of the plane. You know, 20-hour flight from Rio coming here, so I just
straight off the plane to the panel.
Yeah. So I was looking. I always do that when you're on airplanes and you look at what they're showing, blah blah blah, and it's always very poor. I mean, Air France is great. It's actually the best selection. Then all the others like So I was with Alitalia, and then the classics. I said, okay, let's see what they have as classics. You know, Little
Sunshine. That's a classic now.
That's a classic. A classic. Come on. I mean, this is Alitalia. You guys have like the most amazing classics in the world, and you're showing Little Miss Sunshine. This cannot be. So it's. And I said, well, maybe I'm getting old. Yes, I am as well. But it's not. It's how. So I think that. But then again, I think that the more films, the more medias we have, the more possibilities we have. I think the best. Will I ever be able to see a film on a cell phone? I don't think so. Do I think that the TV series, we don't show series, but we can do special events. Like if there is something special, like one episode, you do a marathon, you do something, because again, the experience of cinema these days, it's not only the film, it's really the experience. It's to get people out that they have something that's special. They're going to see the film, but they're going to be part of something that they would not have if they just stayed home. So I think that's also the challenge. And sponsors, because they want to see. Oh, but I want to see more young people. And it's, oh my God, how many people do I have to please at the same time? I mean, how difficult can this be? You know.
And Javier, do you show any TV? Would you ever show TV VR?
VR, it's a kind of a circus right now. You put the VR things over there, and people walk by. Oh, what's this? Oh, this is VR. Nobody knows what is VR right now, because it's not. You don't know which norm is going to win, which brand, which. No, with the helmet. No, without the helmet, it's only a dome. Nobody knows what's going to happen with that. But we have some VR out there. But people, oh, VR buffets, oh, okay, festival, film festival. VR, I don't care about it. I don't hate VR. I really don't care too much, but TV, come on, no. Film festival, not TV and film festival. TV, if you are so hot right now, as Mugatu said in Sulander, TV series, have your own festivals. Go. Series is, I mean, Toronto had its TV section 3 years ago. Yeah, the first year, oh, primetime, the new section by Toronto. 1 year later, what? Nobody cares. 1 year later, nobody knows what it's, the classics. See, classics in series, I don't know. The series are 1 year later, nobody cares. There are 2, 3, 4 exceptions, but we are film festivals. Come on. Once you get TV there, we are not a film festival anymore. They shoot with 2 cameras in series. No.
So you would argue that, yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So you would say Jane Campion shouldn't be in Cannes with Top of the Lake, in your opinion?
It's a different thing if you have one filmmaker make. For example, The Pope by Paolo Sorrentino in Venice 2 years ago. They showed the like 2 chapters. The Young Pope, yeah. And it has its cinematic quality, but it was an exception. But if you put a TV section, I think that was your question. You are watching TV. It is not an exception. I mean, there are a TV movie. Well, Duel by Steven Spielberg was a TV movie. Yeah, was a TV movie, and it's great cinema. And finally got was theatrically released, but it's also a TV movie. It's a tricky question, but a TV section in a film festival, no, because there are common boundaries, and but you know, the TV section in a film festival is very safe. It's like having a radio program selection in a TV festival, in a film festival. It's strange.
I think it's it's tricky. It's tricky because it's we cross boundaries so many times. And for example, right now, L'Amica Geniale, the Saverio Costanzo, which is gonna. I mean, of course, I would love. Again, it's the experience. It's how you get people to sit here and really share an experience for 2 hours. Again, it's not. I mean, to have a TV section. It doesn't interest me, but because I don't think that anyone would be there to see 10 episodes of any series. But depending on what you have, like Top of the Lake, we did show in the festival. Or David Lynch. I think it's the experience. I think that's how much you can cross the boundaries, back and forth. I mean, there's a lot of bad cinema as well. So again, yeah. So yeah. I think, but it's tricky. It's these things. I remember 15 years ago we were discussing. I used to have there was something called a video digital whatever thing, because whatever was done on digital was not cinema. I mean, guess what? This is what cinema is these days. So it's kind of tricky. I don't know. I think there's a lot happening. There's a lot still to change and to shape our experience. And I think what's interesting is to have people come and share the moment of seeing images, I think.
Anything to add from Cannes?
Just about Cannes, I remember a few years ago the film of Olivier Sayas, Carlos, who was produced by Canal+. It was a TV series in 3 parts. Thierry Frémaux would to put the film in competition, but it was forbidden by the administration council because it was a TV production. So the film was out of competition. But that's right that Cannes after Thierry does bring people who are well known, like Ten Campion. That's different.
It's a different thing than having a TV section.
And also in Directors for Night there was Le Petit Quinquin. So it was from Arte, and it's a series too. So but in that case it's good to show those things.
You don't see a day when an episodic work would appear in Critics Week.
No. We. Personally, I don't look at series at all, and it's very bizarre because with students at university, this is the all cinephilia is series already, and cinema is the exception for many young cinephiles. I can feel that, but I think it's different because I'm very optimistic about what happens when I see the short film from all the world. The new first feature film who are arriving the way they did, and in new countries, in Sudan, and, in Morocco, in Egypt, first film are very promising. There is something happens. I think that there is a huge strength for the first film to discover. And when there is Netflix, they can select people who are very well known, but they do nothing for discover. And if the festival, what we do all together, to the press, professional press in Cannes, Screen, Hollywood Reporter, Variety, who reviews all those films, and then they are in all festivals, in 40, 50 festivals. So even if the film is not a big audience, we remember the name and the second. So we do the job to put this in the earth and it's growing like a tree. Yes, but Netflix, they just bring the tree and they put it in an artificial area, but it dies 2 years after. So this is not the same job. And our job is totally important in that way.
Okay, I'm going to open it up for questions, but just to mention, this world of Netflix, we talked about it here at ThinkFest last year. Is it hurting film festivals when a company like Netflix is wanting to not work with Cannes? I think it is. You know, are some of the other platforms helping films get made? Like Amazon seems to value film festival launches in a different way than Netflix does. Where do you see the platforms sort of interfering with the work you do, or do they ever help the work that you're doing?
It's difficult. I think that, yeah, in some way it does impact. I don't think it hurts. I think it does impact the work of film festivals, of film. But again, I mean, the directors are doing that work for us. They're fighting because they want their films to be shown in a festival. They want their films to be shown on the big screen. So they're doing that job for us already. And I try to really keep my mind open, because when I think about the way it was, BBC, 40 years ago making films, and then HBO, and oh no, but these are all TV films, and I mean, these things they change. I think this is a big fight they're fighting. That's a big economic fight they're fighting, and that's something else. I mean, the whole thing of Netflix and Cannes. I mean, it's part of the circus, and I think it should be. Cannes has that power. Cannes, if there is one festival that has that power, is Cannes. It's to show what's new. It's to bring to the table the discussions of what it will be or not be. But then we're talking about money and how films are going to be made. And then again, honestly, if there is money to make films, that's what I'm interested in, and that's what's really important. And then I'll just leave to the directors themselves to actually fight, because they're fighting that fight for us.
Okay, should we open it up for some questions? Any questions or comments? I know we've got a lot of other festival experts sitting out there, or I'll go to some others. Oh, great.
Well, I really want to know, apart from the professionals, how many filmmakers are here who are listening to this? How many producers or directors who will be submitting to these three festivals?
Yes. Do we want a show of hands again about filmmakers or producers, directors in the room? About 3. We've got some other film professionals here.
That's something,
They're going to watch this online later. We're going to force feed them, make them watch.
Actually, I have another problem.
Yeah.
Last year I was in Polish. It's a small festival, beautiful festival in Serbia. Then I moved to Pristina to Prefest. It's also the only festival in this small 1.9 million country, Kosovo. And now I'm here, and when I check the catalogs, they are all a mixture of films from Cannes and Berlin. Especially the international competition here, it's 5 films from Cannes, 4 films from Berlin, and one in Berlin actually. So how is it with you, with your festivals? Do you also take half of Cannes and half of Berlin?
Yeah, the question is, just to repeat it for the video, the question is, the competition here has 4 films from Cannes and 5 from Berlin, or vice versa. How much are festivals showing those films from Cannes and Berlin, and the same old films, not old films. They are some of the best films of the year. So how do you balance showing some of the best films of the year that have come from these big festivals with balancing that with more either local films or just films you want to discover and present to your audience?
I mean, as I said, I think that all film festivals make mistakes by, missing a film that should be in or not in. And the same way that happens to the big festivals. That I think that Berlin or Cannes or Toronto, Venice, they also miss some things. But that said, I mean, there are no doubts that they actually guide and they show the best films or the most expected films of the year. And so it's in some way, you cannot avoid giving your audience and your press and some of these films. It's impossible. Again, it's a balance that each festival will make. As I was saying at the very beginning, What we try to do in Rio is to really have some of these films. You cannot not have them, because if you do not have them, you don't have the press, you don't have the sponsors. I mean, you do have to have some of, because those are the films that everyone wants to see, and they are good. Some of them are really good, and they should be shown. And normally, they are films in some way following the work of directors. I always say, it's not for me, if I'm showing 300 films, it's not for me to decide whether a film from Olivier Assayas should be shown or not. I think it should be shown. I think that the audience has the right to follow up on the work of the filmmakers that are more known. Then what we try to do is to really push to have other films that were not highlighted in any of the big festivals. It's very hard work, because you have to find these films. You have, and I always say that to Brazilian films, it's not necessarily the best thing to be in Venice or Toronto or Cannes. Sometimes it's much nicer to be in smaller festivals where the audience is going to be very appreciative of what you're showing. So I try to do the same from my end. It's to try to find this slate of films that maybe they were in smaller festivals, or maybe they were recommended, or maybe they're just films trying to find their way into a festival circuit. But it's, yeah, you have to mix. I mean, I at least in Rio, I have to mix. I have to put some of these films, and then of course mix with more quality films that we find that should have actually be shown to the audience.
Okay. Javier, you were counting, maybe.
Yeah, I was counting. Yeah. This year we had 16 films in in international competition in Bafisi. Last year we had 20, but this year was La Flor, so 16. 8 of them were world premiere or films that were coming from very small festivals, so half of them. Not a single one from Cannes official competition, not a single one from Berlin, not a single one from Venice. Were 2 from Generation in Berlin, I think 3 from new directors in San Sebastian, and only 1 from Locarno main competition, and that was it. We tried not to repeat so many Cannes films, and we don't want to have films that were in Berlin in the main competition in our main competition. It would be very strange. We made this exception with this Locarno film, was As Boas Maneiras, which was because it was a very strange film. It was a strange presence in Locarno, but we don't want to program. We don't want to be a mix of the big festivals. No. In the last years, we increased the amount of world premieres and international premieres because we want to have new films.
Do you have a section that's like festival hits, though?
No,
They're not in your competition.
We have this section called careers, and we have the big names.
Okay. Any more questions out there? I think I'm going to ask one final one, which is, what do you wish filmmakers knew about your job that they don't understand? You know, people say, oh, programming, that's the dream job. You watch films all day. You know, what do you wish everybody understood about the challenges of programming? What would you say to filmmakers?
They are right. It's the dream job. You watch films, you get paid, and you travel around the world. Let's not be. We are not slaves. I am not suffering. I don't know about you, but I know.
Okay, good to hear.
No, I do suffer when I have to raise the money. That's
Yeah.
the bad part.
Okay.
Yeah, but I'm not complaining too much. No, what I think that they probably should take into account is that first, when you're looking at a film, again, and that's summing up a lot of what we've said, you're judging not only the quality of the film, so you're not really judging, you know, just that filmmaker and that film. You're really making something that's much more complicated, which is finding a line, actually finding something that connects all of the films. I think that the other thing that they should know is that it's no good to send a link and ask, 48 hours later, have you seen my film? No, I have not. I mean, it's just impossible. It's just a long list of films, and God, it's a whole of an organizing thing to really see the links and to make the list. So yes, you do not see the films in 48 hours or 72 hours, and it doesn't say anything about the film or yourself. It's just, and the third thing, which is incredible, is that I used to like DVDs much better to see the films because, and that is true, sometimes I would fast forward a bit, but I would see every single film until the end. Now, the number of films is so huge, and because of the links, if you really fast forward, you don't see the film at all. I mean, sometimes I will see, but I never stop before 40 minutes. But sometimes I will stop at 40 minutes because I just
Some programmers stop quicker than that. Filmmakers should know that, especially if you start watching something it's just not for you.
Yeah.
Some people shut off 20 minutes.
Yes. I mean, if I start to see a film and in 10 minutes I say it's not really anything that will be, in my programming, I will stop. But
you try
before, with DVDs, I used to think, my God, I could just really make a fast forward film festival, because some of the films you can just watch 8 times faster, but I would see all the films. Now it's so tough, and sometimes the connection is bad. You stop, it freezes, it goes back. If filmmakers just knew that sometimes just to have a DVD or to have a Vimeo is better than any other platform, that you're trying to protect your film so much that it's almost too protected.
Charles, what do you wish filmmakers would know?
Just first, like Javier said, that it's a wonderful job. I have a lot of energy. I like to do this. It's so wonderful to have a clear idea of what happens in each country in a different way all the world. And have this vision is great. Now the most difficulty maybe is we like more film that we can select them, and it's to explain to the film director that we like the film but we don't select it. This is very difficult because usually when you say we select 10 films and we didn't select that because we don't like it. No, it's not true. But to explain why we don't select it, and we can see the film in Locarno, in Venice and Sebastian, and we are very happy for the film directors, but how to explain to him why? Because even in Critics Week, we have a huge pressure for the sales, because if the film is there, even if it's not the same level than the other from the main competition, of course, but it means something for the career of the film director in the film festival, for the second one to produce him, and so on. So to explain why I do love the film, but I can't. So this is the key point. But it's important to have a good link with, because we don't have correspondent. We do directly with the producer, the sales agent, the friendship which we have, and the film director. But we talk at the film director at the last point, never at the beginning.
Also, I think it's just through my work with British Council and with San Sebastian, filmmakers want an answer. If they've been not accepted, they want to know why. And of course you want to know why, but as San Sebastian pointed out to me, they reject 2,000 films a year. To give an explanation for those 2,000 films would be more than a full-time job. So I think that is frustrating for filmmakers, but there's a reason why, and it's not because you don't care about the film or you might have liked parts of it. Do you have a comment, Freddie?
Yeah, we have been talking very much about this side of links and so. I think that there is an analog version here also. As a programmer, programming, the meeting with filmmakers, producers, that is as important. To listen to them, their vision, what they have plans for, and the people around, they know other people, artists going into films, and the analog thing as a programmer. I'm traveling a lot, and it's extremely important. To meet people at home. Not just watching the links.
Yeah. So Freddie's saying is this human element that comes into this, of meeting the filmmakers, talking to the filmmakers, talking about films, that it's not just watching a link back home and traveling.
Get a picture of the situation for filmmakers in Cambodia or wherever it is. To be there and understand why they do these films. I mean, maybe it's not the best film in the world, but it's the film at the moment.
We are the first audience also.
Yeah.
When the producer and director will be 3 years with the film, and they have a clear idea, but they don't know how the film will be received. And when we speak to them, they say, they are very happy to that's what we want to tell, to say with the film. So there's something very important to speak with them. Yeah.
So it's against what they are saying, we are the last ones. We are not. And we are part of this. We are part of creating the films as well, in a way.
I think that's a nice note to end on, is remembering the filmmakers behind all the work we're talking about here, who've put their blood, sweat and tears into the films that you're watching on these links at midnight. So thank you so much for our panel. Thanks for the audience and asking some great questions. Thanks for your insight, and thanks to Anna and Ilat and Noah and the whole team here for organizing Second Think Fest. And I think we'll see everybody at dinners and at the work in progress in the morning. So thank you all for coming.